You're listening to the Quint's podcast.
हमारी कोई सुनवाई नहीं हुई है। हमारे साथ इन्होंने बहुत गलत किया है, हमारे साथ इन्होंने रेप किया है, बलात्कार किया है, कोई सुनवाई। इनके आदमियों ने हमको उठा के ले गए, कुलदीप सेंगर के आदमियों ने हमको उठा के ले गए।
Former BJP MLA Kuldeep Sengar has been found guilty of rape and intimidation. The voice you heard belongs to the 19-year-old rape survivor. 2 years after Kuldeep Sengar gang raped her at his home in UP's Unnao. A year and a half after her father died in judicial custody and she tried to set herself on fire in front of UP Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath's office. 6 months after a speeding truck killed her aunts and left both her and her lawyer fighting for their lives. The 19-year-old rape survivor finally got justice and Kuldeep Singh Sengar was finally convicted. Hi and welcome back to The Big Story, where we dissect the most important news developments of the day. I'm Vishnu Gopinath. Now, as protesters raged over the Citizenship Amendment Act on 16th of December across the country, a verdict in a small Delhi court, the Hazari court to be specific, got little attention in what we call the news cycle. The verdict was about a sexual violence case against a minor. Even the probe in the case suffered from a lack of sensitivity and a patriarchal approach, to quote the judge, making this a big win in a system where rape survivors have a negligible chance of getting justice. In this podcast, I'm going to take you through the case, starting from the first allegations to Kuldeep Sengar's eventual conviction. The story has seen many twists and turns, and Sengar is now staring at a minimum sentence of 20 years to life. The judgment is pretty damning for Sengar and his co-accused, Shashi Singh, who, by the way, was acquitted.
आज ये जो फैसला सुनाया गया इससे पूरा हमारा जनपद बहुत खुश है और कोर्ट का बड़ा सम्मान करता है। ये जो सत्ता के विधायक अपनी मनमानी चलाते थे उसको कोर्ट ने एक नसीहत दी है कि न्याय होगा, चाहे गरीब हो चाहे अमीर हो।
That was Avdesh Singh, one of the key witnesses in the case. We'll dive deeper into that in a minute. But first, if you like this podcast, subscribe to the Quint's channel for regular updates. We're on Apple, Google Podcasts, Geo7, Spotify, Stitcher.com, Radio.com, and most other platforms. On a side note, while we cover this, there have been a ton of developments in the protests that are still raging over the Citizenship Amendment Act. We've been tracking and covering that extensively. You can check out the Quint's websites for all the updates. In case you're not up to speed on the protests, I'll also leave links to all of that in the show notes. In case you aren't up to speed on the latest developments, listen to our Big Story podcast episode from yesterday, where we asked whether the police used excessive force while handling protesting students. A quick update there, by the way. As of this podcast recording, protests had broken out in Delhi's Selampur and had turned violent, with police resorting to using tear gas against protesters. Earlier in the day, police said that 10 people with criminal backgrounds had been apprehended from the protesters. None of these people were students, just by the way. Now onwards. The judgment in the Unnao case has been long due. The Quint's senior correspondent, Aishwarya Iyer, has been following the story since day one. She was in the court when the verdict was delivered on 16th December. We heard it was quite dramatic, Aishwarya. Walk us through what happened in court on 16th December.
First, the BJP MLA Kuldeep Sengar and the co-accused Shashi were brought in. Along with policemen accompanying them, and then the judge came in. When the judge came in, everybody got up. We waited for the verdict. He took about 10 minutes to get down to the meaty part of the verdict, which was essentially to say that he looked at Kuldeep Sengar right in front of him, and they were all standing, of course, and Kuldeep Sengar was surrounded by his lawyers, and he looked at him straight up and said, "I do think that you are guilty for committing the crime of rape." And after that, he moved to Shashi.
Want to hear the rest of this podcast? Check out the link to the full episode in the description below and follow the Quint on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Geo7 and all other platforms we are on.